wherever you are in the North America or the world, is actually is letting you get outside and get some fresh air. It's important at all times, if you can, of course.
Yeah, if you can safely get out there and run, absolutely do it. You can run in the cold, it's fine, as long as you're prepared, as long as you take those precautions. We've talked a lot about what to do to safely do it out there, but getting that morning sunlight and exercise is the key to winning your day.
Yeah, and again, it's going to tie into today's talk, which is good, all about longevity. We're going to get our bodies and as strong as we can, so we can have longevity, so we can keep running and we can stay injury resilient. That's the critical aspect of all stuff, right? And today we're going to dig into some stuff you can do at home. I mean, we have a gym we're able to go to. I know a lot of times you can't for a variety of reasons, but if you can, gyms are awesome. There's everything.
They have a lot of different equipment you can use. You can have, there's personnel there that you can always ask friends to. So it's a great, you don't view it as an intimidating, I know it can be, but know that everyone is so self-absorbed. They're looking at themselves in the mirror. Trust me, all those people that are lifting, doing all that stuff, that know what they're doing, they are not paying attention to you. Trust me, they are focused on themselves and looking at themselves. So it may seem like all eyes are on you because you're not used to being there and it is intimidating and you're kind of unsure. That's not the case. So if you can get in there, do it. There's always trainers at these gyms. You can always just ask and they'll be more than happy to give you a little guidance and stuff like that. So don't be afraid of the gym. It has a lot to offer you.
And if then you've got stuff at home, which we're going to talk about today, some simple stuff you can do at home. All the stuff we're going to show, it goes back to what we've been talking about. You have to work on strength training as we get older, because our bodies being stronger is going to let us continue to run, which is what we all love to do, right? Running is the vehicle we use to keep healthy, as well as strength training and nutrition.
Yeah, exactly. And running alone is not going to do it. I know you guys just want to run. You just want to have that. I was like that too for many, many years. That was my main focus, but you gotta make health and longevity your main focus. Running is a huge part of that. You guys are all fit. We can all, there's a gigantic population, or, amount of people that if they had to run a mile, they couldn't. And I'm not talking people that are limited in their physical abilities. I'm talking about people just physically not being able to even do that. So we are ahead of the curve in so many ways, but we also want to be able to have that running indoors. You guys are doing it into your 60s, your 70s, your 80s, but also living on your own, having your autonomy, having the strength, that functional strength that we're talking about, to be able to have choices. You want to have when you're older. You do not want to, having that independence, having all that. You have to be strong enough to do that. You are losing at 50. You are losing bone and muscle. It's just the reality of it. So running is great for our heart and our cardiovascular and our mental, but the strength to maintain that bone density, maintain those strong bones, and maintain the muscle mass. It is a fight, and you have to get in these habits of doing it. So
right. So today we're going to talk about, again, all these different things, because again, we've all had experiences in our day-to-day lives where we've just noticed that little bit, like, I'm not quite strong enough to do this, whatever that is for you, right? So this is why it's for us to talk about this stuff and to keep reinforcing it, because it is a reminder that we all need, ourselves included.
Yeah, and you don't want to be tweaking something every time you go to lift something or move something. There's no need for that. If you have the strength, you will be able to safely do these things.
Yeah, exactly. So today we're going to get into talking about unlocking our body for the full potential. And how this all factors together. So again, as we say each week, this is not medical advice. Please do your own research. We're sharing with you guys research and stuff that we're passionate about, but we want you guys to have this information so you're at least aware of it, so you can then go and do your own research, and make your own choices, because you should be thinking for yourself. That's critical. Think yourself. And that applies to a lot of things in life, which I'm not going to go into. But anyway, you should be taking this information, thinking about it, pondering it, doing your own research, and going from there. And just, we're here to be a resource for you guys as well. So last week we did a quick recap on running economy, which was good. It was using your body efficiently with the. Don't worry about the VMAX. A lot of people get so hung up on some technical stuff. It's not needed, especially at our age. We're not Olympic athletes, so it's not that critical.
Yeah, and it's not the thing you need to be paying attention to. It's making those miles easier, being able to maintain the speeds that you want easier for longer generations. So the more economy you have with your form, with your arms, there's tons of things that can rob us and cause us to fatigue and not have efficient as we should be. So if you want to check that out, that's what we
yeah, somewhere on the group or on YouTube here, somewhere on the page, just scroll down, you can look for that one. It was the running economy. So today we're going to get into unlocking your body's potential, right? So this is a big one because we all have the potential, but we have to focus on our functional strength. Okay, what is it really? It's just our ability to perform everyday tasks without pain, right? Yeah. We want to stay injury free.
And we take a lot of things for granted, and we can't. At our age, we can't. We don't have the luxury of doing that. When you're young and stupid, you can kind of get away with it. Now, ideally, training and doing all this stuff and having a lifetime of this type would be the optimal, but start wherever you're at. It doesn't matter wherever you're at, what your age is. This has to be part of, going away from the traditional, strength training, related muscles. If you're a bodybuilder, if you're doing fitness competitions, that's none of us. We want to be runners. We want to run better, stronger, and we're master runners and senior master runners. So longevity has to be in our forefront too. So this functional strength training is that's what allows you to actually, the time you're going to spend in the gym. Most runners aren't big fans of the weight training part of it. And I wasn't until I realized the benefit it had for me. And whether you like it or not, the benefit is you just have to do it.
It's something you can avoid. You can try to avoid, but if you're a runner, which you guys are, you're part of this group, you really have to change your mindset a little bit because you will notice the benefit. Trust us on that.
So in my, functional strength training versus, like I said, the traditional that does isolation, you're basically mimicking those demands that you're going to have on your joints that are in your everyday, that's going to transfer into your everyday life, and you need the full range of motion to get the most out of that.
Right. So we're going to talk today about how you're going to focus your shoulders, your hips, your knees, your ankles, right? These are all things as runners that we use, right? So we then have to make sure that we're building up that strength. As Patty's mentioned numerous times, we start losing that muscle mass as we get older. It's sad, but it's reality.
And our bone density, that's a big part of it. Remember, running is a high impact sport that is 2 to 3 your body weight. Depending on how fast you're running, it can be even more. You have to have the strength to do that. This has to be part of it. Can't just be running. But the great thing is all of this functional training translates and helps your running. It will be part of it. It's not something extra that's not going to translate. It is going to make you a more efficient, more injury resilient runner.
Exactly.
And help you age well.
Exactly. And we want to keep moving. So today we're going to dig into stuff that's going to be tied to push, pull, squat, lunge, hinge, rotation, and gait. Seems like a lot there, but it's really not. These are functional movements.
Yeah, the movement patterns that we have. And you are doing these all day long.
Whether you realize it or not. Yeah.
All throughout the day. We don't realize it until we are injured. How having one thing that doesn't work or is injured can impact every single thing you do. He knows.
Your wrist or a hand right now, which is getting better. I'll be back to normal here soon, but I'm back to running, so I'm good. But I can't do some of the strength training I've been doing because of this, but I'll be back 100% here within 2 weeks minimum.
Yeah, and I told you my goal last year at the beginning of the year was to get my functional strength back. I realized all of my running, my cardio is great. Everything is great with that. That is but I realized my functional strength just to be able to do a push-up. I couldn't do a push-up anymore. I used to be able to do push-ups, something I kind of took for granted. But when I started testing some of my functional strength, I realized I'm pretty lacking, even though I can easily run 30 or 40 miles a week, which is great. But as far as my strength of being able to age well and keep my bones and keep my muscle mass, that's really what I wanted to work on. And doing a pull-up, doing a pistol squat, which I still can't do, and doing a push-up. And as you guys know, I did not follow the principles of tissue management as far as how much it can take and how much it can load. Did too much of other activities and wound up hurting my arm, and it took me out for about 6 months of training for my push-ups.
Right. But again, because she had a weakness there and then she overloaded it, which caused the injury, right? Which we've all done.
And that was my fault. It was not because of the things I was doing. I did not, like I tell you guys 1,000 times, to mitigate the stress that you put on when you're running and doing other activities. I managed that really well and been able to run every day for 3 years. I did not translate that into my upper body strength and trying to do pull-ups because I was getting close and I was excited and I kept going with it and ignored too much in the yard, and just the combination. Your body will keep doing it until it can't.
Unfortunately, that's the reality, right?
So 6 months of not being able to do what I wanted to do, having to go to physical therapy and all that. A gigantic lesson of be patient, look at the big goal, and I still have those as my goals. Now I can do a push-up. Now my push-up needs to get to the floor. My range of motion for my push-up is what I'm working on now. I'm doing chin-ups for my arm instead of that. So these are still functional, big movement patterns that I want to be strong enough to do. So like I said, that's going to translate into having in the yard, being able to pick up stuff, being able to pick up your groceries, being able to put something up high, all of these things that you're doing all day long, being able to do it and not having to ask someone to do that for you.
Right. And again, it will help with your running, right? So again, it's functional strength training. Well, let's talk about those a little bit deeper here. So the pull, right? You have your scapular retraction, which is your upper back. And if you're not engaging those, you're using them while you're running. You don't realize that.
So a lot of the pull exercises, you have vertical pulls, pull ups. I was trying to do a pull. Now I'm trying to do a that's just less the shoulder things. But it takes, for you to be able to do a pull up, you want to think of the muscles that you're working. We're so used to pulling their arms and pulling with that. Your arms are not the big muscle here. It's your back, it's your lats, it's that. You need to retract when you're trying to do a pull-up, when you're trying to do a row, you need to think of the big prime mover muscle that is working. And that's, you need that scapular retraction is what your chest needs to be up. So if you can't engage these proper form, you're never going to be able to get to the pull up. You're never going to be able to get to that. And that might not even be your goal, and that's fine. But you need to have that mind muscle connection of being able to engage that so you can lift something, be used to being able to make that movement so you can safely lift something that's heavier. All of these things, having the proper form and the movement patterns for these type of exercises is what's going to train your mind and your muscle connection to be able to properly do that, safely do that with a significant amount of weight. So
exactly. So here's some examples. Again, pull-ups. You may not be able to get to a full pull-up or chin-up. That's okay. But again, it's the muscles, like Patty just mentioned, is that mind and the muscles connecting in terms of focusing on. That's critical. And then if you can't, there's a standing. And again, if you have access to a gym, you have the standing cable rows, which are wonderful, inverted rows, which are also really good.
If you're at a gym, it's the easiest place to do it. They have the rack on a Smith machine. You just need a barbell, on a fixed thing. Your degree of you start, the higher up you start, just engaging, getting that motion of that scapular retraction. You need to have your whole entire your glutes engaged. You need to think about moving as one and stabilizing and getting that full body strength. So you can progress that, you know. You might have to start where you're almost completely upright, and then you slowly decrease the angle and go down. That's the easiest way to do is to do that at the gym. If you're doing it at your house, you're going to have to make this.
You can improvise. You'd be surprised. There are creative ways, and one of the ways is taking a bed sheet, like we're talking like very rudimentary.
A flat bed sheet.
Yep, tie into a knot, throwing it over a door, shutting the door,
locking it just to make sure it stays
right,
secure.
And then you can slowly, gradually increase your body back until again
you're gonna hang on to the sheet,
and you're just
up higher, and then you're gonna go lower and then lower, keeping your body at this angle. That's why you have to, these are great movements to work on, because you have to keep your whole body, your core tight. You have to keep your glutes engaged. You have to move, and it has to be your back. You're making that movement. So these are a great way if you can't, or you don't even care about doing a pull-up, doing these just to get that motion of being able to move your body with a full body movement all at once, all engaged, so everything's working together. That's the best way to have functional strength.
Yep, exactly. So these are just different examples. You've got the standing row cables and the inverted row. So the next one is going to be the push.
So those are your push-ups or whatever. Everything, it needs to be body weight, and that.
You only need body weights for a lot of this. Really be shocked at what you can get.
But if a push-up is an advanced thing, there's a lot of people that can't do a push-up.
Yep.
I can do a push-up. I do a push-up where I go all the way down. I can hold there, but getting back up, it is that small movement there that takes the most strength. But I know that's the most important strength I need to work on, because that's later on is getting me off the floor. That's the I've fallen and I can't get up.
Yeah, which you don't want.
That is the strength, you know, and we don't want to think about it that way. We don't want to think that we could ever get in a situation like that. But this is the type of strength you want to work on to have to be able to do all the things that you want to do. So slow, controlled, and make sure if you're doing push-ups, you know, your pec muscles are the ones that are doing that. That is your major. Don't overcompensate with your arms or your triceps or shoulders. There's other things when the prime mover is not strong enough, it tends to other things. Your synergistic muscles take over and try to make that movement. Your body's not going to say, I'm not going to make that movement. You want me to make this, I'm going to try, and I'm going to recruit whatever I can to do this.
Right. So again, the progression, start with a wall if you can't do this. And then you can lean to a bed, which is lower, or a bench, and then eventually the floor. It's a progression that you want to get to, right?
But keeping that full range of motion where your chest is going all the way down and going back up. And like I said, if it has to be against a wall for you to get that full range of motion,
that's okay.
Start there. Think of all these movement as getting the full range of motions. You see people doing chin-ups or pull-ups that go halfway down and back up. Technically is one. But when you extend all the way out, that's getting that full range of motion. I can do half chin-ups. I cannot do full chin-ups. To me, it's like that functional strength, that extra being able to fully extend out and then pull my full body weight up is what I want. That's the full range. So the more full range of motion, the more you're going to activation that you're going to get of all the muscles that need to be recruited together.
Right. And then again, you've got the shoulder presses, which you can take or even just start with air. If you don't have any, you can still do them with your raising your arms overhead. Just again, it's that, and you should be then adding some weight using common sense and progressing again. Ideally, you want to do some standing or sitting shoulder presses, because it's going to build those muscles as well.
Standing is going to, dumbbells. The reason why this is a great functional, full body functional thing. When you are standing, you're having to engage everything. You have to keep your glutes engaged. Trying to move, people tend to have heavier weights. When you're sitting, you can man it up a little bit more, versus when you are standing. If you can do this, you might have to start out with very light weight. But dumbbells are great because they are going to actually force you to stabilize. Because let's face it, we're not lifting a barbell. when we're getting up and doing things. You're having different things. So in your body to stabilize weight over your head is a key full body functional movement that you have in your everyday life. So the dumbbells allow you to work out those, some of the imbalances that you might have. A lot of people are weaker on one side than the other. So when you do those type of exercises with dumbbells, it forces you to kind of work out those instabilities that you might have and the weaknesses that you have on one side.
And what you most likely will have a weakness on one side. That's just the way our bodies are, unfortunately, due to we're going to favor a certain side, and one side becomes stronger, and it's just the way it is, which is why you need to focus on some strength training. So the squat is the next one. Again, this is critical for runners, right? The proper form is having your knees track over your second and third toes, ideally. If that doesn't happen, you've got some imbalances.
Yeah, if your knees fall in or if they go out, those are definitely, you've got some overactive muscles, usually your adductors, weak abductors on the outside. So there's definitely movement. So that's a whole different conversation. That's a lot to go into. But if you are having any of those issues, like with your knees caving in or whatever, an easy thing to do is to put a mini band around above your knees that forces you to work that outer thigh to keep it open or whatever. But
and if you're at a gym, then you have those machines where you can see you can either spread your legs out or pull them in. I know it's a little bit awkward, but again, there's a function why those exist, quite frankly.
Yeah.
So again, progression, you want to start with body weight, then go to weighted, and then go to overhead in terms of adding weight. So you'll start with just an air squat. It's amazing. You do 20 of those, you'd be shocked at how you're going to notice that.
But you need to have ideally the full range of motion. Now, not everyone's squat's going to look the same because we have different, structures, but ideally you want to be able to do a deep squat. Being able to get into a deep squat. I know people say just go for the range of motion that you have. Sure. The more range of motion you have, the more full range of motion you have, the more functionality you have. So slowly working on that. But you should be able to squat down with your butt below your knees, the angle of your knees, and not have your heels come off the ground. If you have your heels come off the ground, more than likely that is because you don't have, or when you try to do that, you fall backwards. That means you don't have adequate ankle mobility. Having optimal ankle mobility is a huge part of running, because anytime you have that tightness, anytime you have that limited movement in any part, especially your feet is your foundation of your running. That's going to translate into your calves. Runners are notoriously for having tight calves. Well, what happens a lot? They have a lot of ankle injuries. They have a lot of tendon, Achilles tendinopathies. They have all these things because these things are tight, and we're asking them to do repetitive things. Squats are a great way to train that glute strength, but also work on that full range of motion. And it's going to force you to have to work on your stability and your mobility with your ankles.
Yeah, which is a key thing, a critical thing for runners, right? So here's some great examples. A sumo squat, just get down to a sumo position. Goblets, and the one that's really hard, we did at this point, we were kind of joking, but it's the prisoner get up. So your arms are above your head like a prisoner position.
The prisoner squats.
You go down to a squat, and then you go down to your knees on the ground, and you got to get up without using your hands. If you can do that, obviously use common sense, use safety. Don't have anything around you, so if you happen to fall, you're going to hurt yourself. But that would be one. If you can do that one, you're going to be shocked at how hard that is. That is a full body strength right there. Yep, exactly.
But like I said, go for form. Fix your knees. If your knees are going in and out, you need to fix that. If you want, you can always email or DM, send us a thing about that if you want to fix what's going on with that, because that's something you definitely is going to limit it's going to affect your running. It's going to affect everything. But this range of motion, sumo squats, is if you don't have that flexibility, those are goblet squats are a great thing to do to get down, to still get you in that range of motion, because your feet are a little further apart. But anytime going from body weight in that full range, if you want to make it heavier, you need to have your hands above your head, and that can be just straight up above your head. That could be behind your head. And like I said, doing these prisoner get-ups, one knee at a time, and getting back up. So
yeah, exactly. So then lunges. Again, these are all leg exercises, which are critical for the strength of us as runners. And stability is key. When I was doing some things after having my injury from last year, I was not stable, and she was getting mad at me because I was adding a bunch of weight, and I was wobbling a little bit.
Yeah.
Focus most of my stability first, right? Did that, and now I'm back to, I built that strength up. But it's critical because it would lead to another if I did not do that.
And we know lunges are you being able to walk up the stairs, being able to go on a hike. That is the motion. You know, this is a real world type thing that you need. So get your stability first before you add any weights. And if you want a challenging, I know it says split squat, but it's actually a lunge movement. And that's with your leg on a bench behind you and lowering down. We did a video on the proper form of this, kind of leaning forward to get your glute activation.
Right. So there's just a couple exercises here. There's many forms of it, but you got to reverse and knee up, meaning just put your leg back. Then you come up, raise your knee in the air, or a Bulgarian split squat, as Patty was just mentioning. And then the lateral ones going side to side, right? And then going to the front. Those are just different types.
Those are all variations, but we need to always move in multiple planes because our life is in multiple planes. It's not in one fixed thing.
It's not linear, right? We're moving. And again, people think, oh, well, I'm running, I'm going straight. No, you have to maybe dodge that pothole. Or if you're running an event, you have to get around people. So you are going to be coming across obstacles. So you will have to move from side to side.
Yeah. So these are definitely key. Hinging is another, that's a huge thing. If you're bending down, if you're picking up something, this is a hard movement to have a proper thing. A lot of people add a lot of weight and do all of that, and they're not actually doing the movement. This is one thing to practice. You need to have it. If you have a dowel, you have it from your head, the top of your back to your butt against there. Hold that and be able to hinge over and not have that bar or whatever it is come off.
Just even a broomstick you can use.
Either of those 3 points and being able to hinge down. You'll be surprised. It's a little harder than it thinks. Step out from a wall and just hinge forward and have your butt till it touches the wall, and just get in that habit of hinging from your hips. Doing that, not involving your spine, having your spine be neutral, and do that. This is something you actually have to practice a little bit to actually get it proper, because people mess up their lower back big time by not doing this right.
Right. And why is that happening? Because you have muscle imbalances, and then you're not doing it right. And so this is why it's critical. So the exercises to do are deadlift. You can start out with no weights on a deadlift, right? Obviously, you do want to add some weights. Start with the dumbbells and start with a lightweight. And this is a critical one that you've got to do proper. Like Patty was just, proper form is most important with the hinging, because you will injure your back, which is what we don't want. So if you go to a gym, you're struggling with that.
Most people are going to be doing this with barbells, weights on the side. Like I said, grab somebody, ask them to spot you, to look to see what you're doing. I know they want to help you. Don't worry about no one looking at what you're doing. Trust me. But if you're going to do these movements, especially the deadlift, it does take a lot of actual proper form to not, like I said, not to injure your lower back or to cause problems. The remaining is a lot easier for most people to do. So you're hinging down just to where your hips go back, you stay there. So most people, it's to their knees. Some could be a little bit below, but once your hips stop moving back, you stop going down. So right. You're not going to increase that by lowering the weight further than it needs to be, because then your back is going to be doing that. So your back is not doing that. All you're doing is hinging. And so you can't hinge any longer, and your hips stop.
Right. And then the last one is the hip thrust. Now, this is going to be done with a barbell. This is where you have to have help doing this, because you have the higher risk for injury. So don't do that one by yourself, and you got to have some weight on there. And you're just doing a hip thrust. There's a certain position, and we'll do a video on that one, on how that we do that one. But that's critical. This is what you do not want to get injured on. So make sure you either.
But it is one that
is the most beneficial.
It's the most beneficial because you can actually add a lot of weight. You can progressively load this if you know how to do it safely, and it has one of the most glute activins of any exercise you can do. Yep. So it's worth if you're at a gym, getting proper form with having this done. Doing it at home, you're gonna have to do a single leg to get that amount of. You'd be shocked at how much weight that you can move with doing hip thrusts. So if you're doing a traditional one like that, you're gonna need a lot of weight to make it actually move. How we make it harder, we decrease, the stability. So
Right.
single leg, doing that'll make it hard enough.
So then rotation is again another one, and you have to focus on keeping your core tight and your glutes active. Some exercises there are the wood chop, which means high to low. You're just going to cross your body over, then add some weights.
Or low to high.
Or low to high. So think about that. You're doing this all the time. Get groceries out of the
snow.
car.
Right now, a lot of you are going to shovel snow. That is a wood chop from low to high. Do you want to have to pay someone to do that, or do you want to get a decent workout because you have the cardio for it because you're a runner, have the physical strength to be able to actually shovel your own sidewalk.
Right. Getting things into the cupboard. Things like this are normal day-to-day movements. This is why you want to practice this with some weights, right? And then the Pallops is one where your hands are out and you're just rotating sideways. That's going to be done typically at a gym with a cable. You can do it with some small dumbbells, some small weights, and just holding it straight out and then twisting and turning.
Yeah, you need like a resistant band.
But you need a resistant band really at that point, is ideally.
But that's an anti-rotational thing that we're constantly having to stabilize. So anything that stabilizes, you can do those with plank variations too, of doing different things that force you to stabilize your pelvis. Remember, a lot of our energy comes when we're running, stabilizing that pelvis. So having a strong core, being able to do it. But all those other functional movements force you need to have a strong core to be able to do all those movements. So getting in that mindset of always having that is key.
Yep, exactly. So now onto the gait. Again, don't shrug shoulders, engage your core. This all goes back to running. And the best one is the farmer's carry, right? Just grab some weights and walk.
Something heavy.
Just something heavy and walk around. And do this at home. But if you can't, when you go to the gym, grab some dumbbells and just walk around the gym. You are going to be shocked, and keep your shoulders back and your core engaged. It's the same thing as a suitcase carry. So if you happen to have two of the same sizes,
the suitcase carry is on one side.
One side. I'm sorry.
And that helps. That's another thing too. That's a great for. We know we have imbalances and stuff like that. Having a heavy weight on one side, forcing you to keep from going like this. Anything that forces your body, that anti-rotation, that's everything. That's a full body thing. That strengthens. That is going to 100%. Translate if you've traveled anywhere. Being able to, I didn't have Steve with me last time I traveled. I had a 47-pound suitcase that I had off the turn, the turn thing. If I was by myself and I was not strong enough, I'd have to ask somebody, hey, can you pull my thing off there? I was happy with the fact that I was physically able to pull that off there. Like I said, all these things are going to translate into having options of what you can and can't do, or you choose not to do, versus having them do it. But the single, anything, you need to carry things above your head, heavy things above your head safely. Obviously it's not going to be as heavy as what you're walking around with, but a single arm carry, you can do it with a dumbbell, you can do it with a kettlebell. Or
something around the house as well. That is kind of easy to grab something, just walk around. It may look a little odd, but it's going to, again, benefit you in the long term, right?
Yeah.
So kind of recapping here again, functional strength training really is just using compounding exercises required. You're going to build up your balance, your coordination, because you're going to recruit different muscle groups, right? That is the whole goal of doing this, because we need this.
Just an S on there. Okay,
Yeah.
I was like, that is.
Yeah. Well, sorry.
Okay. But it's having your whole body work together to make movement, to have you properly. So we want to put this all together, a sample full body workout. Now this would be a pretty intense. You can just pull them all up, but those do your push, that does your pull, that does your hinge, that does your lunge, that does your squat, that does your rotation, that does your gait. Those are all 7 movement patterns. You could do that if you had some time, do that all in there. You can do 1 set, 8, reps of these. If it's a single leg, you do 8 on each side. try it out, do 1 set. If that feels too easy, do another set. You know, get to where you can do 3 sets of these. Then you're going to change the progression of that. You're going to change, you make it harder, either with increasing the rate, the weight, increasing the tempo, or changing the tempo, or changing the surface. 2 legs to 1 leg. All these things can be mitigated by different modalities to be able to slowly progress. That's what we want, to slowly progress your strength.
Right. And this is just an example. If you did this a couple times a week, you would be shocked at the benefits. So there again, like Patty just mentioned, these are the 7 core elements here. And we just gave you some sample exercises. Granted,
these are not easy. These are not easy exercises.
They are not.
So,
they are not.
So regress these. You know, if you're advanced, you know, you can probably do these and you can make them harder. Or you can always regress too. These are exercises that all can be done about that's why they involve, like I said, that full body function, engaging everything that we need. Like I said, having full body strength is the key to running more efficiently, and being injury resilient.
Exactly. So that was a little bit long today, guys.
Sorry,
but again, all this ties back to we have to have proper nutrition, right? Because if you're not eating properly, you're not going to be able to
fueling these workouts.
You're not going to be able to fuel these workouts, and all that will progress. So the foundation is your nutrition.
Absolutely.
We're going to start doing more stuff on nutrition again because we're at our sister Patty's Sisters. We got a nice kitchen here. We're going to start doing some of those examples here coming soon. But if you guys want, when it comes to you're just stuck again anymore, now we're into February. If you've had resolutions, most people have already given up on those. So we hope that's not you.
That's not you.
That's not you guys. But again, that's why, you know, we're just trying to educate you guys stuff that we do. We're in our 50s and we are still our high school weights. You can go to runtips.us/ that will allow you to set up time with us and we can kind of walk you guys through some stuff.
It's like I said, never feel stuck.
Right.
Always reach out. People want to help. We want to help. Like I said, sometimes it's just simply getting pointed in the right direction.
Yeah, and as we've said all the time, we're going to keep saying this, it is minor adjustments. You would be shocked if you're struggling around just making those minor tweaks, getting that momentum, and you're going to see those results, which is then going to allow you to run more efficient. You're going to do some strengthening, and you're going to have the ability to keep running in that longevity, which is what we all want, right?
Yes.
And we want to stay injury resilient is the bottom line.
Yeah.
Right.
And we want to have autonomy as we go. So
exactly. So we're longer today, guys, but there's a lot of good stuff here. Okay. So please put questions to us, send us a DM, or go to runtips.us/call and set up a time with us, and we can help you guys get started. All right.
All right. Hey, everyone.
See you guys.